Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. I'm joined by Brandon Jones.
Yeah.
On the eve of his retirement.
No better time to do my last friend code than this week. It just so happens you were just dying to hear my take on whatever I have to say here in this episode in the last week.
This is officially the Brandon Jones episode of Friend Code.
Yeah.
I tell Brandon's like, hey, whatever you want to talk about, we're going to talk about on this episode because, yeah.
Well, if you want to distill, here's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Now, I was Game and Watching, like in the old Game and Watch, like battery, like the watch battery days. Like I remember there was like an octopus game that I had that was on Game and Watch. I don't know if Mario was in all of these. I think I just had like weird, old Casio watch, like black and white. Like I remember playing a lot of those. So when Game and Watch came up again, like Smash Brothers, I was like, wait a minute, like I know that. I remember playing
Recognize that one,
but it's not something I directly connected Nintendo with. And I actually believe, because did Nintendo make like those clamp arms? Wasn't that like, because they were a toy company for a while. And I remember that was like one of their big hits, was like the thing you had a little handle and you'd press the trigger and it would clamp the arm down. And so you could like reach and grab stuff. And it's actually a tool for people who like need to reach things or, have trouble like grabbing or holding stuff. But I remember there was like a big hit for Nintendo. I remember saying there was like one of their like early toy hits. I had one of those and I was familiar with it, but still, wasn't until, and I'd played several Atari games, that my brother's friend brought over a Nintendo Entertainment System and was like, yo, I want to show you this game. And everybody's always like, oh, for me, that was Zelda. Oh my God, for me, that was the original Super Mario Brothers. Now, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, the first Nintendo game I ever saw.
Nice.
In my house, in my living room, brings it over, plays it. And this can maybe be one part of our conversation because, like, I don't know if you like remember because I know some of the Nintendo franchises you didn't get into until later in life. But like, my brother's 3.5 years older than me, and so is his friend, and I couldn't even fake playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!. Like, I'd played games before, but like this reaction time, and like learning patterns. Like, I haven't played any like fighting games, and granted, there really wasn't a lot. Like, Kung Fu was tough, but like it just wasn't like this. It's just a whole new era of pain and just me just being so mad that like I'm a kid. Like I hear like I should be good at this just instinctively. This is driving me nuts. And they were kind of laughing. They were good at it. And then like, he brought it home and then my brother, I think my parents just got an Atari because it was fun. But my brother we had like a meeting between brothers and he was like, we got to get ourselves a Nintendo, however we can do it. We're like, all right. And I remember part of it was like my parents helping us because I'm sure like taxes weren't something we were thinking of at that age. But we both like pooled our allowance in, we both saved up, split it 50-50. And there's this big glass window in front of my house. And I remember like my brother coming down the stairs, like holding it up, just like we got it, brought it back from, warehouse or Toys R Us or whenever he picked it up. And I was just determined to get good. And neither of us ever beat the game. I think he beat it. I think he told me the ending. And there were a couple times I watched him get all the way to Tyson. I never saw him finish Tyson, but he said he did it. And I couldn't even, I think, I can't remember if it's Macho Man and then Tyson or Macho Man and then Sandman and then Tyson. I think, or it's not Macho Man. It's like, not Macho. It's like Mr. Guapo dude. What is the...
I know Sandman is the second to last. But it's like,
it's like Super Macho Man or something. There's another guy with like just massive, just like huge muscles, big gray flowing hair. And I think he might be the second to last guy. But it just like, I want to ask if you ever had that experience where you had like an older friend or somebody who you were in games at an earlier age, and there's certainly like your parents and other friends like couldn't understand it if they were in games, but you still had that like 2, 3, 4-year-old kid, neighbor or something who you're just like, how are you so good at this? Like, I'm just not.
We in our group of friends, one of them who was one of the first to actually have a Nintendo Entertainment System, his older brother would always just be like, we'd play a game like Zelda or Metroid and get like super lost in it and have no idea what to do. And he'd just come by and be like, yo, you want me to tell you what to do? And like, we'd try and act, no, we know what to do. And then you'd start playing and he'd watch and be like, that's not the way you're supposed to go. And then to be like, he goes, if you just leave it out, I'll like beat it for you and come back tomorrow.
Come back and enjoy the credits.
Yeah, so like he did that for a few games. It's like we'd have a sleepover, come back next morning. He's like, "Here you go, we beat the game for you already." So it's like, what? Because yeah, like except for like Mario Brothers, I think so many games were just kind of hard to process at like that age, and yeah, just I had not grown up. I mean, I had not seen video games before Nintendo,
Yeah.
so a lot of that stuff was A, before my time, and B, like my family was primarily like, you're going to be like sports. You're going to play sports. You're going to play soccer. You're going to play baseball.
Yeah.
So that was like our family. And then they only got a Nintendo for me because they made a deal about my grades. They're like, you get these grades on your report card, we'll get you one. Yeah, it was an incentive, but I think ever since they kind of regretted it. They're like, dang, if we'd known like what this would have led to, like we never would have made that deal with you. But
your grades went up for the NES and then went down every day since.
Yeah, every day since. No, it was just like I thought it was I always tell the story. Thought it was a television and like that's remote control. I'm like, oh, is this like weird bad animated cartoons? It's like,
right,
but you move them, and I was like, I didn't like. It was so foreign to me. And yeah, like it took forever to understand Mario Brothers. So like something like Zelda or Metroid, I was like, oh, cool, I'm jumping or I'm swinging a sword, but I have no idea what anything else does. So it was just beyond us for a lot of that. So, like, I remember trying Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Oh, the first fight's kind of fun. Everything out there, wow, what's going on here? Whoa, this is hard.
Just literally getting hit in the face and collapsing. Like, seeing a character like, oh, you know, like I'm flashing red because I'm hurting so bad.
Yep. Got really good at mashing the button to try and get back up. I was like, yeah, you got to spam those buttons really fast. And,
just
like,
Mario himself coming out like, you suck. You're out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Welcome to Mario's Arena. I'm just going to hang out here with the real athletes and maybe try again. Come back later.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't until like Super Nintendo that I really, started to like realize what I was playing. But yeah, had a friend with an older brother who would always beat the games and would always kind of be like, "Oh, don't touch that game. It's like you guys would be terrible at it and stuff. You shouldn't even bother with it." And like secretly we're like, "Dude, he's so cool. He like knows how to build these games, man." Whoa.
And the thing about, the NES, it's crazy in terms of like our jobs and looking back, was how many games I would have lost my mind over, but I just didn't know I would like them at the time. Like you were saying, like there's a lot of games where like, this is confusing to me, or I don't understand. Yeah. Like a lot of this stuff is ahead of its time. Like one game that I really wonder what my life would have been like if I had tried out and like committed to Final Fantasy on the NES, like actually committed to like a 4-person party, going through a fantasy world and leveling up spells and stuff. Like I was so action focused, and it like Final Fantasy 4 or 2, in the US, totally skipped it. Just was not interesting to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like remember seeing the box art, remember seeing the logo and knowing the name Final Fantasy, and then like it wasn't until like my Japanese friend had brought Final Fantasy 6, like the cartridge with 6 on it, was like there are parts of this game when I was playing, all I was thinking of was you, and so I think you would like just watch this one part. And then it was just like, not only that, I went straight from that to Trigger, went from that, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, Parasite Eve, like just like a lot of games that I would not have played, that I would not have checked out. And I wonder, like, if I'd gone that early, would I have like maybe wanted to play like D&D games on PC, or like I wonder if that it would take me in other directions, because I was like, we were an Apple IIe family, so I played a lot of really weird, played The Hobbit, like played some stuff kind of like that, but just role-playing didn't get into until way later.
Yeah. I also remember not really being huge into video games even when we got an NES. Like, I mean, I liked Mario Brothers, but a lot of the games we'd get, I just remember you'd play a little bit, like the same hour or two of them at most, or first level or two, and never get past that.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's cool. Like maybe once I get like my concept of time back then, who knows what it was like, but like let's just assume like once a week, like, oh, I'm gonna play this game, play the first level again, but I can't get anywhere past it. Cool. And that's what it really was. And like, yeah, I never really like saw that like the need. It was like when Super Nintendo came around, I think it was like, the better visuals. There was a little bit like the music sounded better. There's a little bit of like a narrative, like, oh, like the characters are like have like the dialogue doesn't sound like read weird anymore. It's kind of a little bit more coherent. And I think it was until like, that when I started like actually enjoying the games I was playing. So yeah, there was a thing where I probably, never got a Super Nintendo or never saw one. It was just, would have been like, yeah, NES games are cool, but like, yeah, they're kind of like, boring and hard and stuff
Right.
like that. And move on. Like arcade, like same thing with arcade games. Put in a few quarters, have a little bit of fun for
Yeah.
me, and then like move on. It's like it's just like it's a diversionary thing, but it's not something I would get invested in. I don't see myself playing through a game to beat it. I don't see myself like no delusions or ideas that this is gonna be my career at that young age. I was like, nah.
But it's funny, even us now are still kind of doing that with Nintendo's online service, and we have like Super Nintendo, 64, SNES, and like Genesis, and it's kind of like that impression with these games. We're like, I'm not gonna beat this game, but I'll play a couple of levels until it gets hard, and then I'll bounce off.
Same thing, yeah.
We're back to the start. But yeah, like so, my brother and I were kind of playing different games. I think like I gradually got more interested in like what games I would want to go out and buy, but my brother was really interested in them. The Super Nintendo was clearly like my thing. Like that was like we both got it. I think we got it as a present like for Christmas one year. But like F-Zero, Super Mario World right out of the gate because like by that time I had played Super Mario. Like Super Mario 1 was always just really hard for me. Whereas 2 and 3 I could finish, and like was obsessed with them. So the time like World came out, Super Castlevania 4, like yeah. So before even I got into 6 and Chrono Trigger and some of like the best games on that, the best, most like multi-hour adventures on that system, even like Clay Fighter and stuff I was playing. But I was just curious. So I got, shout out to Nintendo Life. So I got these like the box arts. I want to go through the NES library and just shout out to the random games I played because they were not Metroid, they were not Final Fantasy, they were not some of the major ones. Did not play to this date. Have never beat the original Legend of Zelda. Was all about Link 2, Zelda 2: Adventures of Link. Damn, that game was hard. My brother was able to get to the boss where you fight yourself, but then was that the final boss?
That's the very end.
Yeah,
of the game,
I remember watching him fight that, and he was like, watch me just get wrecked by this thing. There's nothing I could do, and you could save it, right? So he could.
So yeah,
Can you save the game?
Both the original and that have save progress.
I just remember.
So
I don't
you just had to like get back to where you were. Yeah.
But that was the kind of thing where like he's like I can take another crack at this, but we're not gonna finish this game unless you can beat this guy. I'm like I can't. Totally miss Kirby. Totally miss Metroid. Ninja Gaiden, I think I did. Mm-hmm. I remember Ninja Gaiden from my youth, but I don't remember if it was the NES, but it must have been. Or maybe I played it at a friend's house. Star Tropics, shout out to Ryan Stevens. Never played it, but that's one of his faves. Definitely played a ton of Super Mario 2, which I know is, is it Doki Doki?
Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Dr. Mario played on the Game Boy. Did not play on the NES.
Okay.
Played a lot. And played Castlevania 1 and 2. Never played 3.
Okay.
And again, another one of those things where like if I was able to go back through time and like wear shades and like pretend to be not me and just bump in like, yo, little kid, like what? Like play Castlevania 3. Like I know 2 burnt you out of the franchise because it was so like 2 was like ominous and creepy, but I just didn't know what the hell was going on. Like I just couldn't.
I don't think I got past like the first town screen and then like one screen over. I'm like, wait, what's going on?
I think later
here?
I bumped into a friend and I was like, yeah, I never finished 2. And they were like, I could finish 2 in 45 minutes. It just brought out a guide and like I just watched them just fly through 2. And I was like, oh, cool.
That was what I did. I decided to go in on it because I never really played it. Tried to beat it like no information. Had to look up one item, what it did.
Right.
And then after that was able to finish it.
And the
I'm
classic, like they're crouching in the corner of that one
it's
screen. It's
very much like Zelda 2 minus like the overworld map.
But if I had known Castlevania 3, like 3 playable characters and all that stuff, I would have for sure jumped back in. Rygar, definitely remembered Rygar. Didn't own it. Friend owned a Rygar. Battletoads, Double Dragon 1, I played a ton of. Didn't play any of Battletoads. Contra.
Oh yeah, lots of Contra.
Here we go.
Yep.
Such an easy NES game to get into. Talk about a game where you don't need like. Have you finished Contra? Has anybody finished it? Like.
Well, not then, not back then. Back then, it would be like the sleepover game where like we're gonna try again, like we're gonna keep getting better.
Game Genie, I finished Contra,
Dude,
but like
one of the great co-op games. Like that game was something I loved to play with other people. It felt weird to not play it with someone else. It felt like that was the way it was meant to be played.
Well, it's kind of like the difficult games now, even still, is like, the reason why you want to keep playing Elden Ring is because you can kind of see where you messed up. You can see, you can kind of tell, okay, that one attack, I just keep forgetting it's winding up to do that. And like every little white bullet, just
not paying attention
no,
comes out of nowhere.
I can see how I could have dodged that. I just didn't know. A lot of sports stuff. It's funny. I think like tennis, Super Tennis, I played a lot on the Super Nintendo. And again, I think golf I played on Game Boy. I think a lot of that stuff, if I was gonna sit with a game for a long time, a sports game, like that was gonna be something I was gonna play in the backseat of the car. Yeah, Tecmo Bowl, missed out Battletoads.
Oh.
Trying to think if we can land on some of it because I know there's some super random ones in here. Faxonadoo.
Okay, never got into that.
Faxonadoo was great because that was the Christmas present that was shaped like an NES box. And I was like, that's an NES game. And then the night before Christmas, I'm like, okay. Aunt Cindy and Uncle Jim, let's do this. And and it's folded on the side. It's taped on the side.
Yeah.
So I just open up the tape and then fold it down. And I see the word Faxonadoo. And I'm like, what the Faxonadoo? What the hell is that? A decent side-scrolling like adventure. It's like adventure-y. It's got action stuff, but it's like Souls-ish almost, where you really got to know like I got to go upstairs through that door. And Yoshi, didn't get into Yoshi at all in the
Neither
NES.
did I.
Adventure Island, hell yeah. That is a very interesting. Of course, Duck Hunt, Excite Bike, definitely played a lot of Excite Bike. Mega Man, I missed entirely. I've never really been a big Mega Man guy.
Oh.
Bubble Bobble, I played in the arcades. Did not play that on the NES. Castlevania, of course. My God, Castlevania over and over. Dragon Warrior 1. Not knowing what franchise I was getting into here. Not knowing, even years later, what's this Dragon Quest thing I hear of? Not have any idea. Did not play 2. Didn't play Final Fantasy in the NES. Played Dragon 1 all the way through. All the way to the end. Loved it. Dragon Warrior 1. Ice Climber, no. Metal Gear, not until later. I think Metal Gear I bounced off of because it was like, what's...
Same. It was a game like...
What's going on?
Walk around the first few
Where do I
screens,
go?
probably get dying or caught, and it's like, well, so much for this game.
Barely understanding that like the car took me somewhere.
Yeah.
Like getting out of the truck, like what just happened? The car shook and now I'm over it. What?
Yeah.
Again, is Kojima, ahead of its time. Although that wasn't even the game. Like Kojima had nothing to do with that, right? The NES version?
What?
Because that was MSX, right? Or that was
that's him. It was there's an NES version of Metal Gear 2 called Snake's Revenge.
Snake's Revenge.
That's
so that
not
was
have anything to do with that.
Donkey Kong didn't really get into golf, of course. Ghosts and Goblins, and especially the Super version. I almost broke the controller. Kid Icarus, I did play a lot of. I remember Kid Icarus. Like probably one of the best, just like themes, just right away. Obviously Zelda and everything, but like. Just really.
I never really liked the vertical games that we like keep going up vertical. Like those just weren't for me when I was like a kid.
Hard to kind of wrap your brain around. Like, where
like
do I now go to the right or where?
It was a little. I wasn't the best at platforming.
Tetris played on Game Boy. That was DuckTales. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't think I beat DuckTales, but yeah.
Well, yeah. There's another one. The older brother, friend's older brother, would beat for us, but like we loved. Just playing the stages to hear the music. So, like, just go to the moon. Like, I just want to walk around the stage. Like, just that was a game. Even as a kid, I remember just wanting to hear that music.
Galaga. I think a friend might have had Galaga. I always get Galaga. Oh no, Galaga's Galaga. Galaga I played in arcades. R-Type and what else am I thinking of? They're like the two that are always put together. Gradius. Yeah. I think I played that through friends. Rad Racer.
Oh,
hell
yeah. A lot of Rad Racer.
Changing the radio stations in Rad Racer.
I forget about that.
They're like 3 different radio stations.
Goggles or something that was with it. Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original. Didn't play the second one. Played the original.
Oh.
Had no idea where to go. I think there was one point in the overworld where I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I ever beat that game.
I could get to Mecha Turtle. I think I beat him once ever in my life, but like never could get past the part after that. And like loved arcade. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, was like one of my favorite NES games.
I remember the first nerd video I think I ever watched was Top Gun because it's like one of the funniest damn things in the world. And then immediately when I was like, okay, this guy's amazing. What else has he done? And I found out he had done TMNT for the NES. I've never clicked on a video so fast in my life. I was like, please rip this game apart. And it's a special video if you haven't never seen it.
Top Gun the game infuriated me.
At which, yeah, I think
everything about it just infuriated me.
Bionic Commando didn't.
Loved hockey though.
Ice
NES
hockey?
Yeah.
I think I probably played.
Did
a
like
bit of that. Yeah, so much Mega Man on this system, and I never got around to it. Wario's Woods, no.
No, never played that.
I think there were more Adventure Islands, but I think I just played the first Adventure Island. Batman the video game, of course. DuckTales 2 didn't play. Fester's Quest.
Oh, you played that? I never really played that. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I think the nerd did that, and one of the great things about Fester's Quest is there's one gun you have that's like a circle attack, but there's some areas that are so like the corridors that are so condensed that it just hits the side of the corridor and stops. So you have like something jumping at you, and you're like, I physically can't attack this thing because it is such a wide arc that it's just stopping when it hits the wall. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu? No. Lode Runner played on Apple, didn't play on the NES. But yeah, Simpsons, no. Played the arcade version.
So you never played like was it Bart versus the Space Mutants? Or
It was all in the
like
arcades. It was just the Simpsons arcade game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
I think I was kind of stepping out of the Simpsons, or I just didn't need to explore the Springfield via video game. That just didn't make sense to me.
Because at that age, yeah, like it was something that did watch on TV. That the Bart versus Space Mutants and the Krusty's Camp Nightmare or whatever game on Game Boy.
Right.
That was one I played a ton of. Really enjoyed that one. I think I knew more about the game, the Simpsons games than and including the arcade than I knew about the show because
wow,
I didn't like the show. I just like watched. I remember mostly an episode or two from my childhood, but all the Halloween specials. Like every Halloween, I'd be like, "Oh, can we watch Simpsons?" And like always come on. Like parents would remember to like let us watch it.
I remember too, because like they're all like Bart's really heavily featured in like a lot of the games at the time, and I remember like schools getting upset with like people wearing Bart shirts and like "eat my shorts" was like bad word, and like it was an interesting era of like I never connected with Bart in that way of like being this kind of Ferris Bueller like representation of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, like he's a rebel. It was like it's just the whole family was funny.
Yeah,
Blades of Steel, definitely. Yeah. Chippendales Rescue Rangers, owned it, played it. Yep. Double Dribble. My brother's a big basketball fan, so played lots of Double Dribble. I remember like the dunks would have like a cut scene. Like, yes. You would see like a close up of the guy like dunking, and so
yeah, I didn't really get into like basketball games except for on Super Nintendo we had a game called Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball, which was hilarious to play. It was just like fun. But I mean, like everyone else, like when NBA Jam came out, like just played a ton of NBA Jam. Love that game.
A lot of Star Wars games in the NES. Did not play any of them.
I don't even tell you what they looked like.
Willow, I think I remember playing a little bit. I remember like what his village looks like at the beginning.
Was there also an arcade game of Willow, or is it just the NES game?
I think there was a bunch of stuff.
Because I remember playing something like it in the arcade, and like, because I was like, oh, I love this movie, and then play the arcade game. Like, I'm so bad at it.
Batman Return the Joker did not play. Back to the Future, no, but that's another great. Angry video game.
That game was so annoying, man. All of them. Like, I just hated the Back to the Future stuff. It was not very good.
Akari Warriors I played a ton
Dude,
of.
Akari Warriors, just getting into the tank, man. Getting in the tank and being able to come out of it, I was like, this is cool. Like, and it reminded me like of a more vertical, like Contra sort of. I was like, wait, are they the Contra soldiers? It's like, this is kind of cool.
Great co-op.
Yeah,
really,
co-op
really
stuff,
solid co-op
yeah,
game.
Loved it.
I haven't seen it yet, but Russian Attack. I played a lot of. I don't know if we'll get to that. Skate or Die. Very confused by. Was not good at, but I remember that having kind of a fun like 3D effect. Super C, of course, because it's Contra. Did not play TMNT 2. Wizards and Warriors.
Never really got into that.
The best thing about Wizards and Warriors is when your health gets low. So like in Zelda games it'll like beep beep beep, beep.
Yeah.
In Wizards and Warriors it would play da-na-na-na. And you're like, okay, let me get some health. Like, you're in trouble theme. And I remember there was like a pixel perfect jump around halfway through that game that you had to make. Batman Returns, I was playing on the Super Nintendo. Did not play that on the NES.
No, that was a Super Nintendo one.
I bet that video series exists on the web of like the NES versus the SNES like franchise thing.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of Super Nintendo games that got some weird NES version.
Like Tournament Fighters is one because that's going to be part of that Cowabunga collection coming out. We're getting both the different versions of that, which will be interesting to see.
I think Goonies came out for Famicom. I played Goonies too.
Yeah, another big one, I don't think you've gotten to it yet, is Marble Madness.
Yeah.
Loved playing that game.
Played that on PC. I had a neighbor that had it on PC, and so I think I played that mostly on there. But yeah. The Mickey games, I didn't get into that.
So you didn't play Mickey Mousecapade?
No.
Oh, man. I spent a lot of time on that game. I used to really it was one of my goals just to beat it. I don't think I ever beat it as a kid. I had to come back and beat it later, but had a blast playing that game every time. It was just really fun, actually.
Maniac Mansion, only played that on PC. Robin Hood has an NES game. I wonder. There's Russian Attack. Here we go. Sweet Home, shout out. Didn't
Oh.
play it, but I mean, it's a fun game to learn about when I did the Resident Evil retrospective. These good TMNT games. Okay, 5 out of 6. Where do we go? There's Willow again.
Yeah, I saw you passed the Ghostbusters games. Those I
Did
like
not- did
Ghostbusters
not
2
check
more
them
than
out.
1. 1 was really
Yes.
hard to play.
Another good AVGN
But
episode.
Ghostbusters 2, like I like the car part. Like it was kind of fun, like driving Ecto 1 on the side scrolling part, and like jumping over things and then
We had to like buy equipment and level up, and again, like that.
That was same
in
with
the
Ghostbuster
80s, when I
1.
was like 8 years old. It was like I don't.
Well, Ghostbusters 1's kind of
Hard to
like
follow.
Zelda, where you need to know what each item really does, and if you buy the correct things, you actually can progress in the game, not that difficultly.
Right.
You know,
Kung Fu we talked about. I'm not seeing here, but Raid on Bungling Bay
I'm not familiar
is like
with
a
that
helicopter shooter game, and I played that out. Legendary Wings was like a top-down kind of 1941,
Okay.
dodge
Right
and
on.
shoot kind of vibe, except you were like this fantasy being and there's big, crazy, weird bosses that you're fighting. Goonies 2, as I mentioned. Just shout out to this console because this was the beginning of me. I owned everything since then. Like I didn't own a Saturn, and I never owned the Master System. I didn't own a Genesis until after it was like not the console to own, but I went back because I wanted to go back through and experience a lot of those games. So I bought it retro, and went back and played.
We got a Super Nintendo, but then my brother got the Genesis. So I got a Super Nintendo and then eventually a Game Boy. He got a Genesis, and eventually somehow, I don't know how he convinced our parents to buy him a Game Gear because how expensive it was, and like just the batteries would go through. But
6 batteries, baby,
the thing
gone.
was huge. And I remember he didn't really play it a lot, so I didn't really have a problem when he would be out going over there. And like I remember playing Sonic 1 and 2 a lot.
Right.
Was it not one of the Virtual Racer was another one because it was like a 3D racer. And on Game Gear, just playing the Game Gear Sonics. I really like the Game Gear Sonic
I love the
games,
Game Gear
man.
Sonic.
Yeah.
I think Ninja Gaiden on Game Gear. I think that was the Ninja Gaiden I played. I think that was like my intro to the series. Rampage on the NES.
Oh man, definitely played that a lot. Also, like I was blown away by how different the arcade game was from it.
Yeah.
Like, even just visuals. I was like, because I got really good at Rampage. I remember getting close to beating it, but we needed to go to sleep.
Right.
And I begged my parents not to turn off the NES or whatever because we're like, we're in the second to last level. We're gonna beat it in the morning. Morning it was turned off. I was like, did not want to have to get back there again. It was like a marathon session. I was like, yeah, that's not happening.
RBI baseball.
A lot of people played RBI baseball.
Loved Tiny Little Touch. After you hit a home run, the next time you get a line drive, the crowd would cheer. They were like so excited. They would get all ramped up. I was like, I'd ask my brother, like, why are they cheering? And he's like, well, they're excited because you just the crowd's all warmed up. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. RC Pro-Am, I remember playing the little
Had a lot
top-down.
of fun with that, collecting all like the letters and like voiding oil slicks. It was I had a lot of fun with that game.
I remember going over to my friend, shout out to the Beemans, family friends, and I remember my dad's roommate in college. I remember going over and I spotted the NES in their living room right when I walked in, like, oh, and I was like, what do you guys got? And I flip up the case and look into their NES, Jeopardy. I was like, whoa, Jeopardy? And like, of course I could have grabbed something else, but I was like, gotta know how Jeopardy plays. And you had to like type in the words and stuff. Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Well, I gotta dig that up.
No, I had Last Crusade on NES.
Whoa! Of course, there's a Super Nintendo, like the trilogy. Basically, that was
NES
really fun.
Last Crusade was insane because you had like the Grail puzzle. We had to like make. You know how he does the drawing, but you had to like do it like a 9 piece puzzle thing where you slide the things to make the image. You had the tank stage where you had to like fight the dudes on the tank and without falling off.
Yeah,
like
the indie retro almost happened, man. Like in the golden age when we talked about all the dream retros we wanted to make. Because there's some random, like twist my arm, make me play Last Crusade of Fate of Atlantis again on PC. But I mean, this like the whole idea of like owning the system, and I think the reason why my brother and I had to pony up for that console was like we got Atari as a gift because it was kind of like, it was the early '80s and it was kind of like the fun thing to own. Like my mom was into Pac-Man, it was kind of cool, and like we had family friends that had it. But I think like this idea of my parents being like another console. Like, yeah. It's like, it's only been a couple years since we got the Atari. Like, what game on it do you like? Like, wow, this Punch-Out game's fun, but they got all this other stuff. And like, okay. And so it, like the fact that we had to save up for it. And then just thinking of every game. Like right now, my Switch in my backpack, I have a physical copy of Animal Crossing. Like, there's a physical game still in that tiny Nintendo system, and so it's like the idea of like, I have the Nintendo game. Time to put it into my Nintendo console and play it. It's a new century. I'm in my 40s and like I'm still at it, and it all began with that NES and how fun those games are. And again, not to mention, of course, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, and Super Mario Brothers 3. Like didn't get into Mega Man and a lot of these franchises that I should have at the time, but I enjoyed Mario because those games are so damn good. You could just tell. You play all these weird licensed games, and then you put in Super Mario Bros. 3, and it's like, how'd they do this? How does that game look so good?
They just knew they just knew their hardware very well. Everyone else was just trying to make games for either multiple platforms or just trying to like capitalize on it. I do remember you talking about like the concept of buying a new like system. I definitely remember my parents being confused about why the NES games wouldn't work on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like backwards compatibility. They're like, wait, I have to buy a whole new system, but it doesn't play the old games.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. When we asked for it for Christmas, they were like, if it's not gonna play your old games, why are we gonna buy you this? Like it was like we had to do a lot of convincing and stuff. Like my brother and I. It's like
even now, it's a tough argument for parents. I can't imagine us like in our we children being like, look, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And so then now I got to play it a ton because I got to prove to them it was a smart decision. I got to put in a lot of hours here. I remember playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and when you pause Super Ghouls and Ghosts, it goes. And I remember my dad walked in the room and he was like, Brandon. And I paused. And he like gave me a look like, are you making fun of me? And I was like, no, it's just a game. I'm just pausing the game. What?
That's great.
So many good memories.
But yeah, the games you didn't get into, like for me, it was like Final Fantasy. Did not get into any of those. Yeah. I actually used my birthday present to get Final Fantasy 2 for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I played it at a friend's house, but like it was just too much for me. I remember playing it for a few hours and then like remember my mom saying like I'm never buying you another one of these RPG games again because she barely played it and it was more expensive at the time because the games were all different prices back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was just like saw that like you really didn't play this game and
every time you replay 4 now you just hear your mom, oh now you're playing it.
So like
now you got your big fancy gaming job. Now you like 4.
I just never really like got drawn into that series and that one I had fun at my friends, but like it was just one part when got beyond it I was like, oh, this gets really hard and like what did all these spells do? It was so beyond me. So it was something that just took like maybe another 10 years before I tried Final Fantasy again. After that I was like the next Final Fantasy game I was ready to buy into and it was relevant new was Final Fantasy 10. So after 2 4 it was 10. That's how long. Like 7 didn't convince me to get in. 8 didn't. 9 didn't. Like 6 didn't. It was like nope.
It was such. The last thing I want to say about the NES, it was such an eclectic console. Like it was so prolific and just had so much weird license stuff that like it was always a special thing going over to a friend's house. Even like someone like I didn't really hang out with that often. That I would just be like maybe it would be like after like baseball practice or something and like hey like my mom can pick me up for another hour. Is it okay if I just go over to your house for an hour and she can pick me up there? Like sure. And then I go over and like oh you got an NES and just like what do you plan? Open up like Friday the 13th. Like what? And like oh it's kind of cool. You gotta like get away from them and like oh okay we're in a house and like oh I heard the music like here we go Jaws.
Yeah Jaws.
Where you're like swimming down and you're like trying to harpoon him and just like what I would get alarm bells in my head when I would see some licensed thing that wasn't like I deeply love this franchise, so I gotta play it. But it was just fun to play through a friend, check out something for like an hour. Like, what a weird version of that. Yeah. What a challenge to bring that movie to life in 8-bit graphics. What a weird console. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you for here I am now after so many years, and I think Atari had something to do with it. Certainly the Game Boy. I probably put more hours in the Game Boy than I did. Still managed to not play Pokemon. Still managed to.
Yeah, I was a Game Boy person. Never played Pokemon until probably 10 years after it came out. Like the first one came out. Yeah.
But just the like if I had a television that I could enjoy, there was a video game console hooked up to it. Thanks to Nintendo. So shout out. If you want to ask me one last time what I want to talk about in terms of this company, Nintendo, that just defies any rules that we try to set up in this industry about how you make games, how you break rules, and how you run a business. They're certainly going to continue doing that their own way. So
For sure.
Shout out.
I got to ask you one thing about kind of a current thing. So a little bit newsy, just to keep it. Recently, when the tweet from Miyamoto about the Mario movie delay, just
right.
This is Miyamoto.
Yeah.
Like,
hi everybody. It's like I mean, like I have so many thoughts. The first thought is, what if it's not?
Yeah.
What if this is like some new ploy? Can Miyamoto get out ahead of this? You know, what if Miyamoto ran out and says it's not me? That's not. I don't know what they're talking about. I did not have this conversation. Would we believe Miyamoto? Nintendo, why are you pretending to be Miyamoto?
Yeah.
That
like
he did it on the official
structure.
account. Does he not have a Twitter account?
I was gonna say, it was just like a grab for power here, where he's like, "This is Miyamoto. I now have control of the Nintendo account."
Like the press person was at the chair next to him when he got off the phone and speakerphone. Oh, it's too bad. They're gonna be so upset that we had to delay the movie. Give me your phone. What? No, this is the official account. Give me the account. And I'll tweet it. I gotta let them know that first. This is Miyamoto.
Yeah, their communications department had a nice tweet ready to go. Miyamoto looked it over, probably like he does with the games, and upended the tea table and goes, "I'm gonna change. I got some changes I'm gonna make," and just did some crossing out and added in, and then we got "This is Miyamoto."
Right.
I talked with Chris Son about this movie, and we feel it's best that it should come out in spring of 2023, and the question I want to ask you, because I think I never have gotten your tangible thoughts on expectations for this movie since the voice cast was now. My roommate was starting to read leak stuff, and I had to shut him up. I was like, please stop reading leak stuff. I was like, because he was trying to tell me he's like, they're confirming this. I'm like, I don't want to know till I see it. I was like, I don't want to know anything because just the casting stuff and who they're casting for has put these crazy ideas in my head about and Charles Martinet is gonna be doing something in the movie, even though he's not the main voice of Mario. It's like, what kind of voice is Chris Pratt gonna be doing for Mario? And how is that gonna go? Like Jack Black's Bowser? How is that? Like Seth Rogen's Donkey? So many things. I'm I'm just curious. I've said enough. I'm curious, what comes to mind when you saw that cast, and what do you think about Illumination Mario movie? Do you have any expectations from this?
I mean, I think the safest thing to do is just to expect a highly commercialized adventure with lots of side jokes and a really kind of generic family lesson of brothers getting together and loving each other no matter what. So that's my expectation. It's there's a lot of things I would love for them to get into. There are weird, strange, dark corners of the Mario universe that I would love to investigate. I think the one thing that they could do that I would be so impressed with, I would be in the theater wow. I would go to Twitter and be like, I'm not going to spoil what they did in that movie, but I am so proud of them. If they just kind of lean into okay, we got this fire-breathing guy, this monster, who's just super set on this blonde for whatever reason. Is it because he really hates Mario or what's going on there? Where did there's in Mario Kart there's little baby versions of them. Is that them when they were babies, or is that babies from them? Are they married? You know what I mean? They don't have to I don't need to see the wedding like the Muppets, but if they can at least kind of touch on the fact that those questions are out there. If they can I expect the kind of Lego Batman joke of cutting of Mario being we have to get her out of there. She's probably miserable right now. And it just cuts to Princess Leia style. Just her just in, alone. And one of the Goombas comes in or somebody, one of the Koopa kids comes in and hey, here's the lemonade you want. Oh, thanks. It's okay. She's not, Mario's the one out there suffering the whole time. And she's just he's a nice castle. He's got a nice view and, he doesn't treat me poorly when I'm trapped in his tower because he's out managing all the traps that Mario's got to run into. Those two are just so obsessed with fighting each other. And I just kind of get wrapped up in the middle. I would like them to do that in a way that, some of the Paper Mario games have done, where they without bringing a ton of new weird characters into it. Although if they brought in the Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario characters, that'd be great. But I always got a vibe from that stuff where it was I can see the developer making this game for adults, but not being able to totally go into these weird reality questions and stuff, but suggested enough that I can appreciate it as an adult. But then my kid can still watch this, and whew, all those jokes go right over their head.
You took the words out of my mouth about the Paper Mario and Super Mario RPG references. Like, I wish they would go more for like that humor, but also like the crazy characters, like from the older ones, like bringing in like those types of secondary characters as supporting roles. I mean, the fear I get, like everything you said about your expectations is probably like, you know, the baseline expectation I have is like, it's probably going to be a by the numbers, like, you know, commercialized like piece that's trying to like, you know, become like a franchise of some sort, but it's like, it's going to lean into all those tropes that you know are going to be in there, but it's like, would they have crazy characters, you know, the from the older games, but like Miyamoto kind of like, you know, got in a little bit of the crossfires, rightfully or not, for a quote that was at the time attributed to him about, oh, we have a new rule about like Mario characters, like they have to, like there's a standardized like Toad look basically, and Toads can only be different colors or be the male female version, but like no more of these crazy like archaeologist Toad or Toad as a profession or whatever. Like they have to all look very homogenized, and it's
All
like.
right.
No, like where's the fun and excitement from that?
Right.
And that's my dread of this, is that they're not, Miyamoto's not going to let them go too crazy with anything
Right.
here. It's going to be very as expected, nothing surprising. So it's going to be a very bland, kind of dull, but okay movie. Like it's just not going to have the oomph and pizzazz that I feel like what Sonic did. Like live action Sonic, it's like we took some risk here. We did some things.
Yeah.
You know, whether they worked or not, it's up to everyone's interpretation. But
I think a
was
lot
not
of that
boring
worked.
to me.
The new story worked. The human
Yeah.
characters worked. The references to the games, like I was excited at I haven't seen Sonic 2, but I was like when it was getting near the end and teasing the next movie, I'm like, I'm not even that big of a Sonic fan, and like I'm worked up. What I think would be fun is here's a way they could salvage even the worst Chris Pratt performance. Because the poor guy, it's not that Chris Pratt's a bad actor or we think that Chris Pratt's not going to do a good job in an animated something. It's just like, who wants that job of being, I'm a new Mario. Like, what a nightmare of like expectations. But it'd be fun if he's just kind of like, if he turns out CG look like just realistic and kind of weird, you know, like a little too much detail, his nipples, you know, like whatever, like all the Mario jokes over the years of like too much. And then 45 minutes into it, you find out, oh, wait, this is just another Mario. Like, this is not the Mario that went through a lot of these adventures. This is not the one from Sunshine. This is not the one that Odyssey or anything. And so, like, he crosses over, you know, Doctor Strange style into like another dimension.
Yeah.
And maybe at the end needs to Spider-Verse bring all of the Marios together to the grandest power of Star Mario or whatever. Like, you know, kind of like Super Mario World, where he goes up into the space and now all the stars align and, I can see the other Mario worlds. And out comes the non-speaking 64 Mario, who's all polygon, you know, and then here comes the 2D pixel Mario. Here comes the 2D Paper Mario, the like kind of 8-position Super Mario RPG where it's just the corners. And then out comes Mario. Charles Martinet, and it's like, yes, I'm Mario. I'll help you with this weird Mario that we just met, movie Mario, so that like that movie Mario can get its own amiibo, so that we can put a separator and welcome you into the fold. But it's not like this weird retcon where we're like, is this gonna be the story from now on, or what? Yeah,
Man,
it's a hard thing to do, especially now. Like if they had done this 10 years ago or something, but it's like it's been so long for you to now make an animated
did it almost
movie.
30 years ago, but live action.
I mean, well, that was
that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Man,
Are they gonna reference
I'm
that,
just like,
baby?
yeah, I just don't know if it's gonna have like the charm I'm expecting. Like, it sucks. Like, you never want to think you have better ideas than anybody, because like let them try first.
You don't?
I mean, you know,
Is that the official stance of the Friend Code podcast?
I mean, I like, who knows what sounds good in your head, but like one of the things we talked about in the past was like how, because they confirmed, as you said, Charles Martinet is gonna be in there.
Yeah.
It's like, how is he gonna do the voice? And like, I think one time like we had an idea, the latest idea that pops in my head that would be good as a joke and like, you know, a good cameo for him would be like, in this world, Mario's already a big deal. Like he's like the he's got a merchandising everything.
Yeah.
So he's sitting in his home, kind of like depressed and stuff, and he's playing the newest version of his game, and like they're asking him, and he's playing it, and it's Charles Martinet doing the game voice, like, it's a me, Mario, and he just calls up the agent. That sounds nothing like me, and like, because fans would be like, that's hilarious, because like that is Mario. What are you talking about? But like, yeah, but like something dumb like that, like you know they're not gonna do that. It's like, it sounds like he's like a construction worker and like Spike's his boss or something. So it's like, who knows? Like yeah, is it even gonna have like the Mushroom King in the beginning? It's probably gonna be like real world, and he probably crosses over.
If it's like half real life lessons and half jokey, it's like do one or the other. It'd be weird to.
Yeah,
because
like Jack Black and Bowser, you have to have comedy there. It'd be like kind of, unless he's doing like a weird take on Bowser.
If there isn't
like
one
the
Tenacious D
sentimental
reference, I'm gonna be very upset. Whether Nintendo knew he was doing it or not, I hope. Yeah, there's at least a celebration of the weird cast they brought together.
Yeah,
we will see.
But yeah, we will see. It, as again, it has been delayed. So
part of me hopes it's Sonic's turn. And Mario's now going to be chasing Sonic for that.
In the movies.
For those movie bucks.
How?
And it's like, yeah, that first Mario movie made more than the first Sonic movie, but it's going to be another couple years before we get Mario 2. We're already on to Sonic 3. You know, so the Sonic movie franchise has now made more money. You know, like
what a weird reality where the Mario games are the ones that sell better, but like the Sonic movies do better, but more average people care about movies, so they're like, Sonic's the bigger deal. Like, oh, Mario's is a bigger game, whoop-de-doo, but like his movies stink, and it's like, Sonic's actually bigger than Mario.
I think the sales in the international movie sales of the first Mario movie are gonna just destroy the first Sonic movie. But I look forward to that Sonic tweet of like, oh, congratulations, ding! It's just him, like Mario with all like the Sonic coins or something, like just some kind of little wink, you know, from Sonic being like, You couldn't let me have this movie franchise, could you? You had to sneak in.
Couldn't do it.
So we'll see. But I'll be there. I'll be there watching it.
And this is why we haven't heard about the new Mario game yet, because watch, it's going to be the Mario movie game. That would be ultimate like synergy marketing nonsense. I don't think that's happening. But
it's not going to be like The Wizard where we're going to get the trailer for the next Mario game at the end of the Mario animated movie.
If they have him playing like a game that's not released in there, and that's the Easter egg,
if he like walks past, okay, that's a good joke. That's a good joke. So you're in, like you said, it's all his games, right? And he's like at his house, and so he goes by, you know, he's got all the gold-plated records, you know, like up on the wall, and he goes by, and it's like he's talking to Luigi on the phone. Yeah, well, you know, and he passes like Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, and it's like the order, and then it like you can see the beginning of a frame of the next one. He and turns around and walks away, and you're like, he was so close. They keep teasing what is the that's the last game you made.
That would be
no
really
news
good.
on the you know.
That'd be good. I don't have the high hopes of that happening, but
I think high hopes are a dangerous thing to have with this because it's not. Does Miyamoto have a ton of experience in movies? Does like, Despicable Me is not my favorite animated franchise.
No.
Like they're funny and certainly marketable, and the Minions are just like are very entertaining, but like. This
is something that would have been perfect for like a DreamWorks animation or like like Disney's 3D, not Pixar, but like Disney's 3D animation studios. Like let them do something with that. But yeah, not really a fan of Illumination stuff.
Or even like over the years, like when like Shadows of the Empire came out, and now the High Republic, like Star Wars has done initiatives that were bigger than any one game or any one movie or something. And so you would get something that was a story that kind of encompassed a lot of different mediums. And that would be neat if this was tied to at least like one other thing. But it's like, it's just this movie out of nowhere that doesn't seem tied to anything based on a world that has never really had a story starring a brand new cast. Like, I'm excited. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I could get out of this that I've ever wanted. As long as I played Super Mario Brothers 1 on the NES back in the day. It's tied to bring it around. So we'll see.
This is where we're going.
Expectations are probably a bad thing to have in your inventory when you walk into that theater.
Yeah.
Let them all go.
Yeah. But I think we'll get that trailer probably this summer. I think we're getting a trailer this summer. Like, I think that was always going to be the plan. So I just want to see what it looks like. Just curious.
Don't watch it before we get that reaction. We need that reaction.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At least from you.
Reaction. Like, so just tweet me that it's like out. Just don't tweet me images and stuff like, oh yeah, you see the part with Jack Black doing this thing as Bowser, like
when he gets the metal guitar and like
he plays
Kyle Gass comes in.
He plays Pick a Destiny.
Oh my god, if Kyle Gass can voice just one Koopa, just literally one, then he like skadoosh, like kicks him off of the camera. Like,
oh yes.
And dude, I'm gonna wait until the credits and be like, please, Kyle. Oh my god, Kyle Gass.
For sure. Yeah. Well, Mario movie
sneaking in. For the last podcast of my technical employment at Easy Allies. Kudos.
And yes, thank you so much. First episode that we recorded back in the studio for a while.
Yeah.
Like we've just been doing a lot of guests, and the guests aren't local, so
Well,
it doesn't really work out.
Technically, I'm a guest.
Yeah. Embracing that new
I can
title.
I can get paid for this appearance.
Guest.
Yeah, I'm making VO money now.
Guest.
Personal appearances in the studio, I do not. Unless it's Franco.
Well, thank you, Jones. I got to do some shout outs, though, for the month of May. Just hitting it in time. We got shout outs for Jabberwobs, Elthanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, Nick, and Anna Croft. Shout out. Got to see some of those in a little bit of a tribute video to you earlier.
Just
on
wrapped up the
Community
showcase. Yeah. Got to see a lot of people I haven't seen.
It was really nice.
Before. That was very enjoyable. Yeah.
It was really awesome to see that. So, yeah, and thank you to our wonderful community. We'll get back on track with Q&A submissions for episodes just in a little bit. Sorry, I've been off on that for the last 2 episodes. But a farewell to Brandon Jones. Thank you so much. So glad to have you on.
I enjoyed, yeah.
Hopefully it's not maybe the last time.
Oh no, yeah, I'll definitely be back to guest stuff. But shout out to Nintendo, because you were like, "Hey, I'll just grab you for a frame trap or grab you for a Franco," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's not hard to think of a topic. It's not hard to just kind of just look back on that many years, 30 years, I guess, or however when I started playing the NES, 35 years of There's some games in there. There's some memories I can recall. So, thank you for this opportunity to share the love for Nintendo.
Always a pleasure, Jones. And until next time, everybody, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.